Why am I not good enough? That was the subject line of the email she sent me. Oh, my heart ached for her. I get letters like this all the time, and what comes through more than anything else is this beautiful heart of yours. So giving, so understanding, so caring, so compassionate. You're so unlike anyone that he's ever met. You allow him to be exactly who he is, to treat you however he does, to give you only what he can in the moment, even if it's nothing. And he's never come across anyone like you before. The tragedy is when we take someone's rejection of us personally as a reflection of our intrinsic worth, feeling like we're not good enough, when really it's only because we're with someone who triggers in us these feelings of not being good enough for him. But who could ever be good enough when you're with someone who brings out this response in you? It has nothing to do with your worth or anything around this good enough concept. But it has everything to do with him and his own choices, and nothing to do with you. You give, and you give, and you give some more, waiting to be acknowledged, waiting for him to notice, waiting for him to come just a little closer to your side, waiting for him to appreciate you, waiting for him to give you what you know is in him, even if it's buried underneath an impenetrable wall. You're prepared to love him through whatever he's going through. You hold this vision of what he could be so strongly in your mind that it covers up who he actually is and what he's showing you by his actions, by the way he treats you, by the way he actually is, not the way he used to be. And in spite of everything that he shows you about him right now, you have such a beautiful hope for what can be, such a beautiful heart for how you love him, and so you stay with him. You'll try everything and anything to help him fulfill this potential only you can see. But there's a price that you pay for this, and it takes a toll on you. It's called being a martyr. We can only give like this for so long before we lose ourselves. We lose our dignity, our self-respect, our sense of self-worth. We lose ourselves in men like this. When I was single, I loved a man like this. I didn't know it then, but I would come to learn this later. For 3 blissful months, I thought that I'd hit the jackpot and I'd found the man of my dreams. But shortly after, when reality began to kick in, he chose his drug of choice and his friends over me, all the while giving me just enough to keep hoping and hanging on to the hope that he would change. I lived this way for 3 years. I justified everything in the name of love, believing that I could save him from his demons if only I loved him more, gave him more, tried even harder, and kept pretending that the relationship was working for me. I lost myself in those years. I believed that love could conquer all. I believed that if only I was enough, I could bring back the man that he used to be. I was so overly responsible, so overly unselfish, overly understanding. It wasn't until years later that I discovered the deep roots of my underlying belief system that had kept me staying with a man like this. At the time, I couldn't imagine life without him, so anything at all that he gave me seemed worth the price that I paid. For any one of you going through this is where you look to discover your own deep roots that have brought you here, to discover the truth about who you are and where your own boundaries are. Most of us who are in these relationships don't have any real boundaries to speak of, and we pride ourselves on being so flexible, so accommodating. But again, at what price to ourselves? We never consider what we really can live with and what we can't. The 3 years that I spent like this were absolutely nothing compared to the years and decades many of the women I coach, many of you, have experienced. They couldn't see it either when they were in it, or they didn't allow themselves to. But their stories have so many parallels. Stop asking yourself why you're not good enough. You're more than good enough. See, this is why he doesn't know what to do with you, because he knows he doesn't deserve you. But don't turn that into a dramatic story where you need to rescue him, because you can't. Not for you or for him. Fill up your time with the friends you've forgotten about and make some new ones while you're at it. Find some new places to go, some new hobbies to pursue, something else you can save, like animals or people whose lives can be changed by you. Find your passions. Write out your dreams and your hopes and your goals. Find out what you can live with by pulling back just enough to hold on to you and let go a little bit of him. Take it one day at a time. Check in with yourself often. How does focusing more on yourself like this feel? Have you let go too much or too little for your own comfort? Journal every night. write out the stories playing out in your head, because there's going to be many. Make room for the real story to emerge in your heart. If you're with someone who's causing you to question yourself like this, he's doing what works for him. You need to start doing what works for you, and that includes putting an end to you asking yourself why you're not good enough for him. Because if you have to ask that, then this is clearly someone who's not ever going to be compatible.